We have lost our ability to be present. We are the anxiety, ADHD, and inability to focus for long periods of time generation. Why? It is because we have been deceived in believing that multitasking is getting more things done at once when really we're just giving partial effort to everything and maximum effort to nothing. In this episode, I'm going to explain through the reading of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle why fighting for our presence in each and every moment is the most important thing that you can do. How it'll help you eliminate anxiety, remove overthinking, and ultimately create more peace, more productivity, and a greater sense of performance in your daily life. Welcome to the Leadership Starts With You podcast. I am Chris Mazzara, and I went from being a broke, anxious, drug-addicted kid to speaking on TEDx stages, leading thousands globally, and being named the #1 mindset coach in the world.
One thing is for certain, when it comes to leadership, every person matters, including you. So again, the first aspect of leadership is not leading another, it's leading ourselves. Let's go to the second.
In this podcast, you will learn the how-to of self-mastery, how to be a great and effective leader by first mastering you. And I know you're expecting me to say subscribe, like, comment, but no, don't do it yet. Give me 2 minutes of your time to earn your trust. And if you believe this podcast is inspiring, it challenges it, pushes you, then hit subscribe. We'd love to have you. Now enjoy. If you haven't heard, we started a book club called 12 Books in 12 Months for One Habit, the habit of reading. It is an art form that I believe is being lost in 2025 because we are getting so focused on efficiency and speed that we're starting to devalue things that take more time. Like reading, we're starting to overly prioritize something like a TikTok video that gives us information in a bite-sized format and prioritize that over something that takes long periods of time to learn and master, like a book. But I believe if we're to truly respect and humble ourselves to the teachers that have dedicated their lives, years, decades to mastering something so much so that they were willing to put it in a book so that we could benefit and learn from it. Well, I believe that is where true self-mastery comes from our willingness to learn from others who mastered it and made mistakes that we can learn from. Now, in this book club, we started off with the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you've never read it, in its simplest form, all it is a reminder of why we need to get back into the present moment. Because we have learned through our daily lives that while we're driving, we also have a phone in our hand. While we're watching our favorite game, we also got a laptop in our lap. While we're in the midst of a great conversation, we're also monitoring the notifications that are going on our phone and are willing to text somebody back even if we're cutting them off. We are the generation that's been deceived to believe that multitasking is getting more things done, when in actuality, it is really just lessening the quality of what we're doing. Now, I myself have fallen victim to this. For the last couple years, I've wondered why my insomnia has gotten so bad. And it's so interesting because I've learned recently that it actually has a huge reason to do with my ADHD that has been diagnosed and conditioned in me over the last 3 years of my life. So I've also, in the last 3 years, had a business that has come to support me and build a foundation for my life, and it started to boom in 2022. Coming out of my years in Tony Robbins, all of a sudden, I had a business that was exciting. Not only clients that wanted to work with me, but other coaches that wanted to collaborate and work for me. More challenges, more requests, more emails, more texts, more phone calls, more meetings, more networking events, more social media posts, more marketing, more everything that required my attention. So what I started to do was fall for the idea of multitasking. And during this time, I started doing things like multitasking, working far too late in the night, not getting enough rest, and whatever else I was doing to condition the ADHD brain that I now have. But as I take a big sigh of relief, the greatest news that I have is that the way ADHD has been conditioned into us is also the path of how it can be conditioned out of us. So my days have been reprogrammed. Whatever conversation I'm in, I'm 100% a part of. I'm giving my full attention, my full self to it. Whenever I'm watching a game and decompressing, my phone's on Do Not Disturb. My laptop and emails are far away from me. I'm not trying to get so many things done at once. Instead, I'm giving my full self to whatever it is that I'm doing. Every conversation, every meeting, every time I'm relaxing and having fun, every time I'm in a deep work session, whatever it is, I give my total and full self to it. This is exactly why I've chosen this book. This book, which is actually the first book that we've kicked off with our book club, because I knew that this was the perfect reminder that I needed to start to reclaim my focus, my presence, and relinquish all this anxiety and overthinking, these things that have come back into it. What I'm going to do in this conversation right now is give you the 3 biggest lessons that I just learned from the last 3 weeks of reading The Power of Now so that you can take this as well. Hey, here's your moment. It's been a few minutes, and if you believe this episode is speaking to you or that I and my team can offer you value, then please hit subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on all platforms, we're releasing content every single week, and we'd love you to stay informed. So number 1 of the 3 biggest lessons that I learned from The Power of Now is you have a mind, you have emotions, but you are not your mind. And you are not your emotions. Right now, I think the best way to illustrate this is to look at your hand. Right now, look at your hand. Are you your hand? At any moment, do you identify yourself as these 5 fingers in this palm? No. You have a hand. You have a hand to use, to grab, to reach, to punch, but by no means do you ever think you are your hand. That is the same thing that we need to remember about our minds, about our thoughts, about our brain. We have a brain, we have a mind, we have thoughts, but we are not every single thought that comes through our heads. Did you know that the human brain has over 6,000 thoughts per day, which 70 to 80% of those are usually negative or repetitive? Now imagine, that's not because we're all super pessimistic and negative people. Oftentimes, that is just the way of this brain and the way it works, because our minds, our brains were designed to keep us safe, to help us avoid anything painful in our path, anything that would cause discomfort, anything that we would not enjoy. So of course, if our brain is designed to help us avoid pain, then most of our thoughts are going to be negative because it wants us to avoid discomfort. And discomfort can be the same thing of going to the gym and not wanting to actually go, or the healthy food that you should eat, but your mind doesn't actually want to, because the brain doesn't know the difference between drastic, terrible pain, like falling off a cliff, versus having to wake up when your alarm clock goes off. It associates the same amount of pain to both. Very interesting. But what we need to understand and take from this book is that we are not our thoughts. We are not the mind that is happening up here. And the sooner that we can recognize that we are not our thoughts, is the more and the sooner that we can return back to the present moment, right here, right now. God designed us in a beautiful way. He gave us an amazing mind, an amazing brain. It's an incredible tool, but that's exactly what it is. A tool to be used and to be put down when we're finished using it. Our job is to understand this difference, though, to better understand how we were designed as human beings. We have a mind, and yet it's not always going to be positive, so we need to make sure we don't identify ourselves as our thoughts, as our mind, and the more we can sink into the present moment, because we, as Eckhart Tolle would call, our consciousness. As Christians, we would say souls. We are souls in this body. We are right here underneath the minds, but also, we're also above our emotions. Very interesting. Have you ever recognized that when you have an emotion, it usually pops up in your body? Like if you get really nervous, you usually feel that in your stomach. Or if you get really anxious, you can kind of experience these chest pains. You get really frustrated and angry, you can feel that coursing through your body. What is that? Well, our mind sees something, it has a negative thought, and then it sends an emotion to the body. The body is experiencing that with these sensations that you're feeling. So for yourself, the idea is to recognize that I am not those emotions and I am not these thoughts. I am the observer that is observing both. I am in between. I am consciously right here, right now. For myself, for the most part, I have a fear of public speaking. I don't really fully enjoy it all the time. I get called to speak publicly all the time. It is a large part of what I do for my work, but it is also one of the biggest fears that I have. I have to recognize, though, that that is not me that has that fear. That is my brain, that is my mind that has this fear of rejection, so it overthinks, and then it sends these emotions of anxiety to my chest. We, though, are the soul underneath. Number 2. The second most valuable point that I've taken from this book is total and radical acceptance of each and every moment. Here's a direct quote from the book. To resist what is happening is to make the present moment an enemy and to cause your own suffering. When I hear this, I think of myself in that Miami traffic. My goodness, that Miami traffic can throw me into a terrible mood. When I start to hit traffic, my immediate thoughts go into frustration. Why didn't I leave earlier? Why did that meeting take so long that I didn't leave 15 minutes sooner? And all of a sudden, I start looking like every other Miami driver, swerving in and out of traffic, lane to lane, really thinking I'm going to increase my speed, when really all I'm doing is increasing my frustration about my lack of speed. What if instead of being frustrated, wishing I wasn't in the traffic, what if instead I just accepted it? What if I practiced a radical acceptance? Instead of being negative about the moment and creating resistance about it, what if I sank more into non-judgment? I stopped judging the moment and making it wrong, but instead I practiced acceptance and was here, right, enjoying the drive. Because it's not the traffic that's making me upset. It's my reaction that I'm having about the traffic. That is always the choice. We continue to think in life that our peace of mind is taken away because life is doing something. No, no, no. Life is always gonna life. Your job is to decide how you want to respond to it. Whether life throws you good things or bad things, peace is always the choice that you get to choose. So what if instead we practice a radical acceptance? What if instead of having a conversation with a family member that annoys you, where all of a sudden you start getting real in your head and in your mind, getting angry and frustrated about what they say, their political views, and overall their views on life, why do they always do this to themselves? Well, look what you're starting to do to yourself. Your overthinking, your judgment about them is not just harming yourself, but it's harming your perception of them. It's harming the mood that you're experiencing in that moment. What if you started to practice radical acceptance of every single moment, but also every single relationship that you have, every friendship, every interaction? Jesus said to love your enemies. What if you practiced an acceptance of your friends and your enemies, of whoever they are, accepting everything they are and everything they're not? I believe that's one of the greatest gifts we can give people, is the practice of pure and total acceptance. I got to have a great conversation with my pastor recently, Pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr., a beautiful human being, a great leader. I think he's one of my role models in life. And what was so awesome was, as we were talking, he's somebody that's clearly far more successful than I am, has a far greater reputation than me, has so much greater of a following, has had huge impacts on this world, things that I haven't even come close to in my life. But yet, as I sat with him, everything he did was so validating to me. His non-judgment, his acceptance, his love that I experienced and felt from him in that conversation, what it did was it put me into a beautiful act of acceptance as well. It gave me peace. It made me relaxed. It made me so present that as we were speaking, there was just this great exchange of energy. And I believe is one of the best conversations I've had in a long, long time. But that's because even though I have my flaws, and I'm a very flawed human being, which I shared some of those with him that night, he didn't judge me for them. He clearly wasn't annoyed or judging my way of being. No, I could feel his acceptance, and that allowed me to accept myself. That allowed me to not judge myself or to feel inferior to him. And instead, we enjoyed a great conversation, and I'm still thinking of that impact today. What if you were to do the same? What if every single person in your life you gave full acceptance to, full presence, and showed them that they are valuable purely because of them being themselves? There isn't anything more they need to do to earn your approval or your love or your acceptance, just your willingness to be present and enjoying their company. So what are the points here? We need to practice radical and total acceptance of every moment and not thinking that the future has our fulfillment, Once I get out of the traffic, I'll be happy. No, we can be happy right here in this moment before we get out of the traffic. We don't need to escape. The future doesn't have a more fulfilling aspect of our life. No, I have a fulfillment right here, right now. And then two, what if we were to practice a radical acceptance of every interaction and every relationship in our lives? How much more harmony, how much more peace, how much more would we be willing to interact with people that we oppose in our views? People that have different political views, spiritual views, cultural views, financial views, whatever it is. How much more beneficial can those interactions be if we stopped judging each other and instead started accepting one another and gave them our full presence? I digress. Let's go to point number 3. What we perceive as evil done to us is actually from the highest good done for us. All right, let's make this simple. We become the victim of our own story whenever something negative happens to us, and we start overthinking and wondering, why me? But what if instead we were to practice a radical acceptance by saying, this isn't being done to me, this is being done for me? What if I truly did believe in the plans of God, that everything in my life, whether I'm enjoying it or not enjoying it, whether it's challenging or easy, whether it feels like it's breaking me or building me, what if I truly believed that all things were working for my good? How much inner resistance that I feel could I remove and be freed of? See, whenever we complain, we give power to the thing that's happening in our life, and we make ourselves into a victim. And some people enjoy being a victim so much that it becomes their identity. Have you ever met somebody where right here, right now is never enough for them, but they're always complaining about something? There's always a different place they'd rather be. I think of myself even in school. Remember those classes where you look up at the clock and there's 5 minutes left, and then all of a sudden all you can look at is that clock ticking and every single second, and all of a sudden 5 minutes feels like an hour, and you're like, why can't I get out of this class? When is it gonna end? I think of a lot of people experiencing their lives in the same way, that they're always in a rush to get out of it. They complain about the people, the job, the money, every situation in their life. They always wish it was different. But what if, instead of thinking that life was boring us or harming us or challenging us, what if we thought all of it was working for our own good? And here's the key. The way that we can attach ourselves back to presence and away from this overthinking and over victim mentality mind of ourselves is through the beautiful act of forgiveness. What if we forgave those who harmed us? What if we forgave that person who didn't realize they were wasting our time? What if we forgave the things that happened to us as kids that were rough, that we didn't deserve, and we've been holding on to it to this very day? But if we let it go, we forgave them for what they did to us because we believed it was in our highest good still, even if we didn't fully understand it. Well, then we could come back to the present moment and back to enjoyment. I think that's where our fulfillment lies. I think forgiveness, so much of what Jesus has taught, because if you didn't know, Jesus was on a cross praying for those who were killing and stabbing him, saying, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. If there's anybody who knew forgiveness, I think it was Jesus himself. Because when we start to practice a radical forgiveness of what anybody has ever done to us, we relinquish our victimhood and we start to give ourselves peace and freedom. And we reclaim the power that we have over our own way of being. There's peace in this moment. It's our job, our role to enjoy each and every step along the journey. Not just the destination, not just the rewards, the money, the fame, the success. No, each and every step of what it took to get there. Because I think that's the big thing that us, especially as Americans, forget. It's this pursuit of happiness that one day I'll arrive. One day I'll get to this thing, this pursuit of something that will make me happy and fulfilled. But what if the journey was just as important as the destination? What if every step along that journey mattered just as much as the place of where you're going? Your past does not hold your identity, and your future does not hold your fulfillment. Forgive, be present, and enjoy your peace. This book is amazing. I highly recommend anybody to read it. I do not believe this is an anti-Christian book. No, I think this helps us understand the mind, the brain that God has given us. It's extremely powerful, and it also has some mechanisms in the way it thinks and operates that can hold us back, that can create some real problems for us in our own lives. So it's on us to understand this thing in our heads so that we fulfill our responsibility in the journey that God has for us. God has a vision for you, a great vision, but you got to do your part every single day on that journey as well to reach it. I love y'all. Come tune in, the book club, 6 p.m. on Thursdays, every single Thursday. We're about to finish this book and start a new one. As a Man Thinketh is the next. We'd love for you to join. Peace. Thanks for listening to Leadership Starts With You. If you enjoyed this episode, could you please leave a review, a comment? It goes a long way to helping us grow the channel, or even send it to a friend, because you never know who this show could help as well. And here's something special. If you go on Instagram and you DM me the word Monday, I will give you free access to our online school community, and you'll get to be a part of our group masterminds called Master Your Mondays. This is where we go fully in depth, a deep dive towards you mastering your weeks, your time management, and your focus to make sure that you continue as a high performer. So don't waste another Monday, even another moment. DM me the word Monday on Instagram and we'll give you free access today.